Hi, and welcome to this week's GMBN Tech Show. Coming up this week, we have a look at that new Santa Cruz big tower, high tower, tall tower?
Megatower.
That's the one, yeah.
And Uno bring out their first e-bike.
There's also a Canyon Trials bike. There's a niche within a niche.
And we visit the Santa Cruz factory in Santa Cruz.
We certainly did. Okay, so straight into this week's show, and a bit of a strange topic actually, because kind of been discussing behind the scenes things we can learn from roadies. So what can we learn? What can we learn from roadies?
It pains me to admit we do learn a lot from roadies actually. A lot of our technology started with them and has crossed over. And I was thinking, well, what's really prominent in the road scene is obviously aerodynamics. It's what they talk about all the time is aerodynamics, and lightweight race bikes are turning into lightweight aero bikes now. There's very few separations between the two. And I thought, well, we don't really talk about that, do we? Like, when was the last time you saw an Enduro bike wind tunnel tested and going, this is the most aero downhill bike we've ever made, you know?
Would it make a difference though? It would definitely make a difference in downhill, and we know that from the past, even though riders say they don't wear skin suits anymore but pretty much have their clothes clipped in as tight as they can. But in Enduro there's so many different parts of the racing. I don't know if there's a consistent enough part of it to have a wind sort of. No,
but like, I mean, yeah, look, Bruni has done tunnel testing in the past, Tane Seagrave's been doing it. Recently, we do know it plays a part in downhill, that's obvious, but we don't see it in Enduro, although we do see the speed tuck quite a lot, and this made me think about the recent win in Milan-San Remo, where the rider used a dropper post, and everyone was, you know, like, oh, this is crazy, he's using a dropper post.
We're like, oh, about time, yeah.
Yeah, but it wasn't about the technicality, it was because they banned the Superman tuck or
which
whatever.
Is the most dangerous looking thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, so he put a dropper on his bike so that he could get down into an aero position, and well, I mean, can we learn anything from that? I guess, you know.
I think they can learn from their own mistakes and not doing it sooner, to be honest, because the neutral support bikes, those Mavic yellow bikes, when your bike's broken and you can't get your team mechanic to fix yours, you jump on one of those and they've basically got dropper posts on anyway. That's true. So you can just get on it and it'll roughly fit you in the time it takes to get your new bike. So why have they not done it sooner? Makes no sense.
But what about gears then? Because obviously a lot of our advancements from gears have come from roadies. We had the electric gears is pretty much thanks to them, you know. We've had Shimano developing the Di2 Dura-Race, and we wouldn't have all the great stuff we have in electronic gearing now if it weren't for them putting more effort into Di2 on the road. Yeah,
I completely agree with you. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people that would be like, electric gears, we don't even need that stuff. But it's just like, seriously, we'll all be on them at some point. Yeah, definitely. And why would you try and develop that in the mountain bike world when you know you're just going to smash them to bits? Let our road riding friends develop it, do the hard work for us.
Yeah,
maybe. I think that's a good shout.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, it is one. It's not particularly tech, but chamois cream.
Yeah, it's definitely a roadie thing, isn't it?
And I know so many mountain bikers that don't even know what it is, let alone use it. It'll change your life.
Do you use it?
I use it, yeah, on long sweaty rides in the summer I use it, yeah. Makes a big difference.
That's a cracking image there. Oh, yeah, let us know in the comments.
That's a terrible pun as well.
Do you use chamois cream? Is it just a roadie thing? The mountain bikers using it?
I guess it depends where you ride. We'll see what people say. Genre blurring.
Oh yeah, so I put this down because I feel like the road scene, like, it's just a complete spectrum from gravel over to aero racing. You've got aero gravel, you've got aero, you've got slightly fatter tyres, slightly steeper angles, slightly more clearance. Like, there is literally a bike out there that is so specific to one rider, and I feel like we don't do that in the mountain.
Yeah, we do.
No, we don't.
Yeah, we do. We've got trials bikes, we've got cross-country hardtails, we've got cross-country rigid bikes, we've got cross-country full suspension bikes, you've got trail bikes, you've got aggressive trail bikes, you've got all mountain bikes, you've got all mountain hardtails, you've got aggressive hardtails, you've got downhill hardtails, you've got everything in that bike.
You've listed all the categories, where's the blur in between? I mean, I feel like everyone's bringing out the longer, slacker, lower.
It's all there.
And it's just the travel increments. When's someone going to start bringing out like increments in tyres and clearances and being more specific, I think?
Well, I don't know about that one. I think we're kind of there with that stuff.
Well, maybe.
All right then, so fully integrated cabling.
Yeah, it's a pain in the bum, but that's definitely coming through,
It does look beautiful, to be fair. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'm a massive fan or not. I've got it on most of the bikes and it doesn't give me a headache most of the time. But then I had no issues with it externally either. So So.
I don't think we change gear, like outer gear cables often enough for it to be something that I hate. But
you haven't worked too long enough for that one yet. She's going to regret that, and we're going to use that clip in about 9 months' time. You watch.
Regrets already. But no, I don't know, because at the moment, the road scene, they're fully integrating all of their cables into the handlebars at the moment, and you can't see a cable anywhere. And we still do. We still have a little bit of a snake's nest. You call it a snake marriage?
Snake's wedding, whatever. Wedding. Yeah, it's a horrible situation.
At the front. But, and so, you know, it's only a matter of time before someone like Scott with their little integrated stem thingy brings out
the irony of that brand.
Cables coming in.
The irony of having a hidden shock and having SRAM access on there, and then you've got that cable shifter horrible thing with everything in the world going on. It's like, oh man,
they're gonna
someone get rid of that for them.
yeah, that's the new Spark. I think we told it was the 950 or something. Isn't it?
Yeah,
it seems to have about 5 million levers on it,
which do work very well.
Going backwards there a little bit, Scott. But I reckon they're the sort of people who would come out with a fully integrated everything if anyone was to. Not sure I'm on board though.
Yeah, well, it's coming. I've seen some stuff that you haven't seen. I've seen some stuff you haven't seen yet, actually. I saw it by accident when I shouldn't have seen it. So I can't even tell you what that thing is, but I've seen some stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, it's good. It's coming.
Stuff is coming, people.
I tell you what, so there is a great one that it's not necessarily my cup of tea, it won't be everyone's cup of tea, but e-racing.
Yes.
I think actually that's a legit thing, and we've learned from Roadies, and it brings a whole new world, like Zwift and packages like that, what you can do in those.
Yes, and I know that Zwift are working towards making off-road platforms that you can race. So imagine if you had your mountain bike set up on Zwift and you could race like a World Cup course or something like that. That would be really cool. Yeah,
definitely. Let us know what you think underneath there. Are there any things that you think we've not learned from Roadies, or things we have learned that we've not referenced, or we completely making this stuff up as we go? Let us know underneath, and I'm sure we'll comment on it on next week's show. Okay, news time, and first thing this week is the new Santa Cruz, the Megatower. So this is the big boy 29er. So here it is on screen. 165mm travel out back, 170 on the front, carbon construction. Available in their C and CC, so that's like expensive carbon and cheap carbon. Bit of an oxymoron there, but it kind of works, you know. And coil and air compatible on here. Now, interestingly, they say this new model, so there's a few more shots you can see here, and you're probably looking at the coil shock on here. So it's got a lower leverage ratio than other models, which they say gives it a more damped, controlled feel, which makes sense. Now, it comes with a 62.5mm stroke shock, offering 165mm travel on the rear, but you can also run it with a full 65mm stroke shock on there, or you can take the spacer out that's on the inside of the 62.5. If you can do that on that particular shock, taking up to 170. And they've basically said you can absolutely do that, so there's no issues with clearance, which that's the sort of upgrade we hear people asking about with other models quite a lot. So I think that's really cool that you can do that. So there's what they call the glove box on the down tube. Not sure what sort of size cute. Gloves you'll get in there.
I like that.
I like it. I did see it at Rick over in the EWS's putting a toe blown in his. He's a fiend for those things. So that's quite a good usage of it as well. So there's 5 sizes from small through to double XL. And it's got size-specific rear centre on them, so the chainstays basically grow proportionally. So that's a really good thing to see, especially with their massive double XL. So sizing on these in geometry, so 63-degree head angle, you can obviously adjust between high and low, so fractionally different there. Seat angle on those is approximately 78 degrees, but it does change slightly as the frame proportionally grows. So on the smallest is 77.24, and on the largest 77.8, which is great. Chainstays 436 to 447mm, so that's really cool. The fact the smaller size has got a nice slammed back end, and the reach is from 430 to 520mm, so that's a really big bike at the big end there. Lifetime warranty, as always with Santa Cruz, easy to change bearings, all that sort of stuff. Just kind of can't really not like it. It's a great bike, I'm sure. I'm liking that nickel colour. It's quite nice. Yeah, actually. Definitely. Next up, we've got Starling have released a limited edition stainless steel Murmur. So check this out on screen right now. Basically, they're making 15 limited edition frames, only in large and extra large at the moment. It is their classic Murmur, so it's 29-inch wheels, 160mm, 140mm travel, and 2.6-inch tyre clearance. The geometry, as usual, is 64-degree head angle and a 76.6 degree seat angle, chainstays, 440
5mm. But obviously the main talking feature here is that it's stainless steel, so it's not painted completely raw. And well, stainless steel will stand up to that, it shouldn't corrode, and it will give you a slightly different ride quality, I would say, than their usual steel. Now, I've ridden steel, I know what that quality is like, and I've ridden a stainless steel road bike, not a mountain bike, and it's definitely got a little bit of a zing in the tail, I would say. A little bit of a whip.
A little zing.
A little, you know, so that would be really interesting, but only 15 frames.
Yeah.
Really?
That's what they say.
Wow.
Only 15 frames, come buy them quick, man. I know.
They're probably sold
not
already.
Not putting words in their mouth, but yeah.
They're probably sold by the time this airs.
I reckon if they have sold them all, when you lean on them hard enough, you could get one. And I've seen these in the flesh, the finish on the stainless, it does look amazing if you like the raw look. Like, some people like crazy colourway bikes, but actually I like the bare metal, I think it looks really good.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah, and it's time for something a little bit different now. So yeah, this is an e-bike, but this is from Uno, who arguably made and still make some of the nicest looking carbon bikes, and they hail from Barcelona and designed by Cesar Rojo. So he's an ex-World Cup downhill racer, and he's designed bikes for Mondraker, amongst other people, for Intense and various other companies. But this is their first e-bike, which has kind of been kept under wraps. You know, you kind of heard some sort of rumours about this, and this is it on screen. So I think it's got a Boost. I mean, look at the thing. This is wild looking, and I know you raised your eyebrow about this, but
raised a couple of eyebrows.
I'm not all in on e-bikes yet, but this one does look pretty flipping nice. So it's got mixed wheels, so 29 on the front and 27.5 on the rear, mullet, whatever you want to call it. 160, 170mm travel. It'll run air or coil. Really progressive back end. It's got a twin short link that you can see just down there. It's also got a big fairing sort of housing, I guess you'd call it, like a skid plate, which is quite unique to our design. In fact, I say unique, I've seen a similar thing on Norco, which also has a link that protrudes under the bottom bracket there. But it looks cool, and it's intended to be run into things basically, so that's pretty cool. It's running the Bosch system, and you've got the Kiox display, which is sunk into the top tube. So that reminds me a little bit of the Forestale bikes. So really nice, you're not having anything on a handlebar, so really cleaning up the front of the bike there. Like I say, the Bosch system with a 750 watt-hour battery, double row Enduro Max bearings on there, so this thing's designed to be ridden hard and to stay riding well. And there's 3 sizes currently on there, and it's reach-based sizing, so the seat tube stays the same height, so you're literally just buying it by the length of the bike, which arguably is the correct way when you're buying a really aggressive bike. So that seat tube is 440mm across all sizes. Head angle 64 degrees, seat angle 77 degrees. And here's the interesting thing, the chainstay is 450 on all sizes. That makes a lot of sense on the S2, the S3. It's probably fine. Cesar knows how to build a bike, probably fine on a smaller one as well. Reach 435 to 510, and it'll cost you just shy of 10,000 euros if you're buying a complete one. I mean, I think it looks amazing. I mean, I'm not fishing to ride one, but I think it looks amazing.
They're doing some good stuff. I think I definitely like all displays should be integrated. It shouldn't, you know, you're not going to the shops on this thing. It shouldn't be up on the handlebars. But I don't know. It reminds me of when Canyon first brought out their Spectral, and you remember it was in black and gold, and it had a really angular in that big seat post.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I'm into the shape of it, but I definitely like what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, whether people like the look of it or not, it's going to be a very good bike. Cesar can really build a bike, so it'd be interesting to see what the GMBN crew say about that one.
So Canyon have released the Stitched again as a trials bike. So this is a new, well, not a limited edition, but it's only one spec and one size in medium that's been completely designed around Fabio Vibma, basically. So it's a 24-inch wheeled rigid trials bike, and this is carbon, not metal, which is quite unusual. They've stated that it's 30% stronger than the competition and one of the lightest bikes on the streets, obviously thanks to it being carbon, I should imagine. It's a sub 10 kilogram bike, all in with the spec. There's only one spec, as I said.
Got to say, the weight means nothing to me because it's such a niche bike. I don't know what to compare it to. Do you know what I mean? Like, I know Danny Mac's got the Santa Cruz version, and there's obviously they're both kind of like that inspired, but they're both. I think both of them originally.
We're talking road bike weight territory.
Yeah, so mega light.
Yeah,
which is what you want for that sort of stuff, I guess.
If it means you've got more power to leap higher and do more tricks, then I think that's definitely a good thing. And I've got to say, it's not my area either, but I've noticed it's got this little integrated chain tensioner on the underside of the chainstay, and that I've never seen that before. So I don't know if that's something that might come through a bit more on other bikes, but it's definitely a cool way of sort of putting it into a bike.
Yeah.
Like singles, we don't do many single speeds, do we? So
and we don't really talk about trials, and our resident trials geek isn't here. He's on his way back from the States. So we'll have to ask Martin about it and see what he thinks, actually. I'm sure he's going to want to chip in. But I reckon we should get one in, because they only make one size, so everyone can have a go on the thing.
Yeah.
Be kind of interesting, I think.
We keep taking the mick out of trials, but this is...
I love
Canyon's
trials.
Done it.
I just take the piss out of Martin.
Marin had the Inverness at the Sea Otter Classic.
Yeah, so which was awesome colour.
Is it coming back? Is there a resurgence? I don't know. Let us know in the comments below. If you're a trials rider, do you think it's coming back? Did it ever go?
Yeah, well, we'll see. See what you think. You tell us. So next up, P&W, or Pacific Northwest Components, have launched the Range pedals. So it's like a nylon composite version of their CNC pedals. You can see it on screen. Available in 7 colours, 390 grams a pair, glass fibre reinforced nylon, or plastic, basically. More affordable version of the Loam pedal, which actually, I do remember the Loam, which is a really nice looking pedal. Retailing for $49. We haven't got any euros or pound sterling on that at the moment, but they're a cool pedal, and if you follow the brand, I'm sure you'll appreciate the quality of their stuff. They've also got a women's apparel range. You must have seen some of this stuff by now.
Yeah.
Because you're talking about the Blue Sign certified fabrics.
Yeah, so this is basically Blue Sign certified fabrics, is that they've come from more sustainable measures. It's like an unbiased outside company that kind of looks at that. And so but it's not just about the sustainability, it's the fact that they're trying to integrate like a wool and sort of synthetic mix, so that it's more like t-shirt versus riding gear, and I really dig that. It's really casual looking clothes, casual feel, but you've still got shorts that are like 4-way stretch and DWR water repellent, so it's tech clothing that doesn't look tech.
Which is exactly what you want, yeah. And some people just don't want to, have a look at the Scream cyclist, do they? They just want to look like you're dressed for daily coffee shop rides, I think. Dressed for the pub, basically.
Yeah, for sure. And we haven't trawled the internet or the Instagram for cool stuff, but at the weekend it was Dark Fest, and I've got to say that is one of the coolest events on the calendar. They are crazy.
In the best way. They're absolutely bonkers the size of some of that stuff.
Yeah, and I always love seeing the bike checks, because these guys often go to town on a custom build, because, they're special athletes. They're doing a special thing. Yeah. They get themselves a special ride. Chaos Seagrave had this gorgeous pink marbled. He was riding the Canyon Talk, not the Sender, which in itself was quite interesting. Yeah. But basically, I was just noticing the setups were just crazy. People are running between 40 and 50 psi in the tyres. They're running like semi-slicks or even cutting off tread in the centre. Running maximum pressure in forks here, like I'm talking like 150 plus psi in a 200 mil downhill fork.
Rock hard, literally.
Sam Reynolds is on a 700-pound coil spring.
He's been down a fat fryer, chubbing up on steak a bit much, isn't he? Surely.
He's rocking that dad bod. No. No, and basically it's just this super hard downhill bike so that you don't falter on a takeoff. That is huge.
Completely get that. If you're going in something that hard and hitting a takeoff that fast, yeah, you don't want any sort of negative reaction from the bike. No. And actually, a question that came up weirdly a while back was why some slopestyle riders don't run tubeless, and that's kind of the exact reason. A lot of them will be running inner tubes because you can run the tyre so hard there's no chance of blowing the tyre off the rim, because tubeless generally is supposed to run them a bit softer. Yeah. Obviously, if you're carving into a lip or something, you don't want the tyre to come off.
I think some of the riders found a bit of safety in it as well. Like they wanted no mental games to be playing at all. So if they trusted a downhill tube more than tubeless, they're going to do it. Yeah,
makes sense. Yeah, pretty nuts stuff. What do you think of all the crazy Darkfest bikes and stuff? I mean, I'm pretty sure some of them have ran 26-inch wheels on the rear and stuff in the past. Really? Yeah, just to have something like that a little bit stronger.
Yeah, there weren't many 29ers, I'll say that, in the lineup, so check it out. Darkfest is on Instagram. They will be dropping their highlights edit. The winners are out already, but check out that highlights edit in the next couple of days. Okay, quiz time. 3 questions coming at you for that
pub quiz that we may or may not ever do. We'll see. So first question coming at you on the screen. What was Santa Cruz Bike's first 29er called? What year did it appear and how much travel did it have? Interesting one there. And next question coming at you. The Canyon stitched CFR took influence, possibly, from which brand? And last question, Cesar Rojo is the man behind Uno Bikes, but what was the suspension system that he developed for another Spanish bike company?
Okay, over to the comments from last week's show, which I was really sad not to join in on. So Martin took my place because I wasn't feeling very well that day. But he got some lovely comments.
He didn't really take your place. He was just there, okay? Let's just be clear about that.
He was a lovely addition.
No, it's
Thank
always
you very
fun.
much, Martin. And he did get a lot of love, I got to say. So obviously he mentioned the bowhead and how there's a video coming out soon. And we've got the likes of Memphis Semph, who said, can't wait to see a video with Martin and his awesome bike. Also, Team Bail a lot, nice. Said, buzzing to see Martin's bowhead video. Loved watching Martin ride when I was a kid and love watching him ride now even more. His bike grin makes my day. So anything that feeds that smile is exciting. I've got to agree. I absolutely loved that video he did in Whistler that time. Like, I was smiling, laughing, crying through that video. And I think this is going to be the same.
Do you know what? I think it's going to be even better for him because I think he's been searching for like the ride, and he's managed to find the ride in so many different ways, but he's not been getting the sort of the physical side out of it. And now suddenly he's just jumped on another bike, and now we can get both. And I think even his mentality at Sea Otter like simply just change. Like he was a different person. So I'm mega excited to ride with him again on this bike.
It's not a throttle bike anymore. It is an e-power, well, e-assisted now, isn't it?
And
so that's
he'll
great.
beast himself on it as well. So I think there's going to be all sorts of new, fresh challenges for Martin coming up. So yeah, really cool stuff.
So Schwankster said the Ibis factory is very cool. Scott and Co are pushing the industry to innovate or die. Great work, Martin and Doddy, for covering that. They are. We've got a lot of comments actually. In fact, about 90% of the comments were about being not shocked, but in awe of what Ibis are doing over there.
It's just an absolutely huge scale project, and you know, obviously, I saw Scott had hinted at it like years before, and I saw in 2019 the first sort of fruition of it, and it's amazing to see how far they've already gone in a relatively short period of time. But yeah, and the thing that overwhelms me about Ibis as a whole as a company is they want to share that knowledge. They don't want to just develop it for themselves to be the best. They're like, you know, they were telling us, oh, we had people from X bike company here yesterday because we were showing them, and we've invited so-and-so from another bike company, and we want to show them how we're doing it so they can try and learn that themselves. And I think that's just gold in the bike industry.
We should definitely share more stuff like that around. So also we've got Bike Ninja saying that solar array powering the self-heated molds in Ibis is genius. Such mad respect for Ibis. And it's great to hear a CEO talking about energy efficiency and sustainability rather than increasing profitability, says John Beedham. Does make you think our great-grandchildren might have a chance. I see what you're saying there.
That's nice. And Scott,
long way to go.
He drove his e-car there as well. To see us.
He?
I mean, he had a really long
cool.
journey. That guy's normally on a bike. He rides everywhere. It's good to see.
But outside of love for Ibis and Martin, we've got Simon who says the Marin should do the colourway in a slack, aggressive 29er hardtail with 150 front forks.
Oh, like the sort of the Elroy type thing.
Yeah, it was a good colourway.
That's the sort of thing that they'd probably do, to be fair, if they heard this. Because they're kind of, the brand's changing a bit. It went, it was quite big and corporate at one point. It feels like it's had a resurgence, and they're doing stuff like this. I reckon that'd be an amazing looking bike.
Well, if you didn't see my segment on the Sea Otter Classic talking about that Marin Trials bike, they did say that if there was enough hype and enough attention on that one-off custom for Duncan Shaw, they might actually consider putting it into production. So if you want, you got to build the hype to get the bike. So.
Oh, nice. You should do this for a living.
I used to work in marketing, sorry. Yeah, cool. Shall we?
Great comments from everyone. We're just in Santa Cruz Bikes on Mission Street, having a little snoop around. Just been in there in the bike assembly line. Martin's actually in there chatting to Garen all about e-bikes and the trials, which is pretty cool. I've kind of halted here though. Kind of got to do the retro thing for a minute. So this is the very first full suspension bike that Santa Cruz ever made. It's a Tasman frame, 80mm of rear wheel travel, single pivot design. In my eyes, beautiful. Of course, it doesn't look anywhere near what bikes of today do, but I think it's pretty cool that the brand started with that, and even the story of the brand with Rob Roscott being a sponsored rider for Santa Cruz skateboards, and loved the idea of having Santa Cruz bikes as a name. Now they're not the same company, just using the same name, but very cool stuff. Do you know, if I was going to do a retro build, would be one of the contenders for me to build one of these. I know it's not super old, 1994, but lovely looking bike nonetheless. Now I think Anna's going to be taking a look at the Juliana stuff, so I'm going to give her the mic and we're going to go that way.
So I'm here in the Santa Cruz showroom, and it is full of Julianas at the moment. Basically, they're having a Juliana party this evening, and it's so good to see all of their models in a space like this. It just reminds me how far they've come since they started in 1999. I started mountain biking in 98. I remember when Santa Cruz brought out the Juliana, which was just a model back then. It was a women's specific one, which focused on small and extra small sizes with feminine paint jobs and components and great standover clearance. And now look at it, it's a brand as big as Santa Cruz is now, and I love it. They're such good looking bikes, I can't deny it. But yeah, it's great to see how far they've come, and I can't wait to see where they go with it. But for now, back over to the rest of the show.
Yeah, that Tasman actually does look really cool on the wall. But,
so nice.
Speaking of old vintage tat, what have you got for us on Rewind?
One day. Yeah, so Rewind, we haven't done Rewind for a while. There's loads of cool stuff on the back end to talk about. But this week, we've got a 1989 American Breezer here. So this is from Carl. I'm just throwing some shots up on screen. The first one you'll see is the headgie with the Breezer badge on it.
Captain America vibes there.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, so I mean, you know, it's nothing ultra special about this bike other than the fact it was like a really good bike back in the day. So classic hardtail. And so Carl's basically said, I grew up in Marin and lived in Fairfax in the 90s and 2000s before moving to the East Coast after grad school. I was never a hardcore mountain biker, but basically he's got back on one of these bikes. I'm just going to look at the bike because that's what really counts. So you've got a classic Ritchie stem on there. I mean, what looks apparent is the bike is nearly original spec. If you ignore the slick tyres and the XTR brake levers and front brake, they don't look original given the fact it's got old XT dummies on there. But classic. So they're 7-speed, but they had the hidden click so you could run them with 8-speed, which is, it looks like what he's done on this bike. Classic Yeti grips, leave it Ite written inside your hands. And then titanium Titec bars. Now, one of the interesting things is that rear brake on there. So pre-disc brakes, I had to even think there, we had V-brakes, and then before V-brakes, we had cantilever brakes, and everyone was trying to find out a way of getting more and more leverage from them. Now, I don't know which brand this is, but there's a few different brands that did brakes like this. There was WTB, which I think this might be, and there's IRD as well, and it's kind of like a cam operation. So you see the two little discs, they've got little bearings in them, and you've got this plate that's pulled up and it basically actuates the levers. So it's basically still like a cantilever, I guess. It's just got way more leverage than it would have in a more traditional design, and more importantly, it keeps them out of your heels and your ankles way, because obviously cantilevers used to poke out quite a long way to try and get that leverage.
That actually looks more advanced than the cantilevers I had on my cyclocross bike when I was racing about 10 years ago. So these are good, but they used to like squeak and rattle and stuff because obviously that plate going up and down on those wheels just be like. Well, at least they did in the UK. Pay for a brake that actually does something.
Yeah.
All Judy's. All
classic Judy's. I mean, there's nothing to not like on a bike. It's an old school bike and it's got a lot of great gear on there. So like XT, you know, it's got the workhorse on there. Designed by Joe Breeze, which is obviously awesome because he's one of the founding fathers of our sport, one of the earliest makers. And yeah, by today's standards, it doesn't look like, you know, a bike to write home about, but it's pretty cool. You still got the bike from 1989 and you're still riding it.
Looks like a little pub bike he's made up there.
It does. I'd happily ride that to work every day. Yeah, nice.
So the quiz answers for that imaginary pub quiz we do every week. What you got?
Okay, so the first one, Santa Cruz first 29er. What was it called? How much travel did it have? It's called the Tall Boy, and it was bright orange, if you remember. Had almost a vertical head angle on it. 2009, 100mm travel, and for Santa Cruz to bring that out at the time, it really sort of changed people's perceptions of 29ers very quickly, despite the fact they'd been around for about 10 years prior.
So the new Canyon Stitch CFR, so the new trials bike we were talking about earlier, that has been based on the inspired bikes. So it's something that's been ridden by Danny Mac and by the new sponsored Canyon rider Fabio Vidma. But obviously it would have been an alloy, like aluminium version, and now it's in a carbon version. So yeah,
making the most of what Canyon do best, really, I guess. And the last one, Cesar Rojo, the man behind Uno Bikes. What was the suspension system he designed for another Spanish bike company? It was called Zero, and it was for Mondraker bikes. So his experience as World Cup racer meant he was really, well, actually not all racers are, but he's one of the racers who was incredibly tuned in to suspension on bikes, made it a point of, you know, designing stuff. So it's a short bar linkage system. You could questionably say it's 4 bar because it's got a linkage between the axle and the main pivot, but two short links basically there, and the shock was actually compressed from the top and the bottom at the same time. Very cool system, and they still use it today.
Well, that's all we've got time for here on the show, and hopefully you'll join us next week. But if you like what you've seen, give us a thumbs up as always, and let us know what you're up to in the comments below.